almost for the last 10 years, I've really thought that if you try hard enough, you can make change. Right, I don't feel like Cornersmith has been a failure by any means, but I do feel like I was like, I really thought I could change things, and I don't. I now don't feel like that.
We are kicking off a new series on dirty linen today, and we are asking a big question. That question is hospitality broken? We really hope the answer is no, but there's no doubt that it's hard, harder than ever, and as it happens for today's guest, too hard to continue. Alex Elliot-Howery and her husband James Grant opened Cornersmith in 2012. It's been through various iterations and Sydney sites over a dozen or so years, and in many ways it's been a touchstone for diners and other hospitality professionals in the way it puts ethics and sustainability front and centre of the business. So, Alex, what's happening now?
What's happening now is that we are, I guess we're making a big change for Cornersmith. So we are in the midst of trying to figure out what the next chapter for Cornersmith looks like. But I guess the biggest news is that we're shutting our Annandale Cafe doors at the end of the month. So we will no longer have bricks and mortar, but we are still having Cornersmith. So we're trying to now figure out what we do with this big brand that we built, if it doesn't actually have a place that people go to anymore.
Wow, that is such a big question to wrangle with. And I can only imagine the swirl of emotions, not only of yours, but of your very devoted customers and, of course, staff that would feel so much a part of the place. How is it all feeling?
Well, I think James and I obviously have been talking about this for a long time, and probably for 2 years, really. We've been having this conversation and I've been too scared in some ways to make change because we've been doing this for so long. Like, we've been doing this for 12 years. Our kids started kindy when we started Cornersmith, and she's just finished the HSC. So this has been like, you know, our life while we've been raising our kids. Now James and I both feel very, I think, weirdly kind of calm, or at some sort of like, it just feels good. And we were chatting on the couch just last night, and talking about the next chapter, and I could just feel this little glimmer of almost excitement of like before we started Cornersmith, of this kind of like, oh, I wonder what's going to be next. And we actually don't really have any idea. So I think we've been through the big, hard, scary feelings, and now we feel really good. We haven't officially announced it yet, and we are a bit afraid to, because people still haven't forgiven us for closing the Marrickville shop like 5 years ago. I mean, people still come in really upset about it. So we're a little bit scared to let everybody know. And obviously our beautiful staff, it's family for us. So that's really big, but they've been along on the kind of emotional journey with us. So it's not big news to them.
Wow. Well, I think, so many people around Australia, and especially in Sydney, are very aware of Cornersmith and what you do. But for people who haven't encountered your businesses in all its forms, give us the Cornersmith 101. When did you start? What is it? What has it been along the way?
Sure. So it's actually quite nice to talk about it, because it makes me feel like it wasn't a big, like this, we're not coming to like a big fat fail of an end. It's nice to put the story into some kind of context. So we started 12 years ago. We wanted to open a little family business where we could bring all the things that we loved together. And James is from the hospo industry and wanted to open his own place. I had been at home pickling and preserving and manically cooking from scratch to try to figure out how to feed my children well and do the right thing as a consumer and live in the city. So I was like a psycho, and was like canning my own tuna and making butter and, just being mental, really. And we decided we wanted to open a family business where it was, good food, good coffee, good vibes, but also somewhere where we could get people thinking about food and the food choices they were making, not in like a preachy, judgy wellness, anything kind of way, just as in like a conversational way, and also get people to think about their kind of their place within our complex food system, I guess. So we just wanted this space to be like somewhere you could just engage, as in have a coffee and have a nice time, or somewhere you could go a bit deeper and learn. So I didn't know it at the time, but I think Cornersmith has always been an education space. And everything that we've done over those last 12 years has had to fit into that framework. And you know, we've had multiple cafes, we've had a cooking school, we've had a picklery, I've written 4 books, we've got the preserves range, I do lots of consulting work, we've got social media, like all the stuff. But really, I think it's like good times, but it's also education.
Yeah. Well, I remember the first time I went into the Marrickville store. I reckon it couldn't have been long after you opened. I had a friend that had moved to Sydney and excitedly took me to his special new place. And it did feel special and different and inspiring, thought-provoking, you know, that you were using odd bits of vegetables on the plates, and then there were all the pickles that were all around you. So I feel like it was very much a leader in terms of making people in the city think about what they were implicated in, you know, that we were part of a food system. And I think, yeah, you've got to sweeten these lessons, and you certainly did that with, as you say, like really good coffee, you know, really good feeling, and yeah, just, you know, you'd walk out of there feeling nourished. So
yeah.
And
I think we set out to do what we wanted to do, but now I think it's time, and I guess, you know, it's nice for you to use the word leaders because it's a harder thing to say about yourself, but I think things feel so tricky now, not just, you know, environmentally tricky, like tricky in the world in lots of ways, and I think it's time for us to make the next change so that we are staying ahead of things as well, because like the reality is it doesn't, you know, not our food system's broken, but I think hospo's a bit broken too.
Well, that's how we set up this conversation from the beginning, and I want to really get into that because I think not only do people look at you as leaders in sustainability, but they look at you in leaders in doing hospitality sustainably. And if you're saying, look, it's just a bit hard to do that, I think that's going to really, you know, shake people, to be frank. So tell us what is hard about the hospitality side of Cornersmith.
Yeah, so I guess what it feels like now is up until COVID, we just were going. Like we were growing and we were excited and we were saying yes to opportunities, and we also didn't have an end game. Like we're not smart business people. We didn't open this business to be like, yeah, we'll be in it for X amount of years and then we'll sell it and then we'll do this. Like this business is us, and we've poured, you know, I don't even know what words to use. Heart feels like the wrong word, but we've poured ourselves into this, and perhaps looking back on it, we should have poured less of ourselves into it and made more strategic decisions. But I guess what it feels like now is up until COVID, we just rolled, and it was exciting and it was fun and it was working. COVID hit and that really changed everything for everyone and for all industries. I don't want to just say that it was hospo, but, you know, hospo definitely took a hit. And I think for us, or especially James, who was in the cafe every day during that time, it took an emotional hit as well, which we haven't quite bounced back from. We got really tired. It feels like a bit like it took the wind out from under our sails. Then once we reopened, we had to open on exhaustion, and that felt really hard. And then it's felt, you know, every week it has felt harder and harder to not only make the right decision, you know, environmentally and to keep your customers happy, and we're a really creative business. So to stay creative, it's more felt like we're in survival mode. So there hasn't been the opportunity to have the voice and to have the words and to have everything that we believe in, because we're just trying to keep the business going, basically. You know, the cooking school took a big hit during COVID because there was no place to pivot. A hands-on cooking class couldn't really be anything else particularly, and we tried lots of things. But I think more than all of those things, it also feels that while we, and so many other businesses, but while we feel like there's lots of answers to do the right things environmentally, the support systems around it, so whether that's where your food's coming from, how you're getting rid of your waste, how people want to engage, how much money people want to spend, all the things, it doesn't work. So that system doesn't work anymore. And kind of having conversations about, vegetable tops, it's a little bit not relevant right now, because the business itself and everybody's businesses needs, we're back in the business a lot more than we used to be, which doesn't allow time for creativity either. It's just kind of get in there and get the work done. So I guess it feels, I don't know if it's us that I don't want to say we're old, but we are older than we were. And is hospital a bit of a young person's game if you're still in it, like on the tools and not just overseeing it? Or does it just not, does it just not work right now? I don't know. I can't tell if it's us or if it's the system or if it's a combination of both.
Well, we want to, I suppose, investigate that. So we're going to chat to you today, Alex, with sort of posing this question, which I suppose you've just eloquently done. It's like, is it you or is it the system? So we want to hear, we're going to chat to people who, in some ways will agree with you, and we're going to chat to people who feel like maybe they've cracked the code in different ways. And to those who are listening, if you feel like you've got something to add to this conversation, we definitely want to hear from you as well. So message us and on Instagram or through the email that's at the bottom of the show notes, because we want to have a really robust conversation that tells Alex and James what to do next.
What do we do next? I don't know. But I do feel, though, that while I don't know what it is, I feel like we've got 12 years of experience, 12 years of wisdom, 12 years of, trial and error. And we've really tried a lot of different things, and some things have been super successful and other things that I thought would be amazing that didn't catch on as much. So I feel like it's now this, while it feels a big decision to be making, it also feels really awesome that where James and I are really determined. Like, we're not leaving the hospitality industry. Cornersmith isn't finished. We're really determined to figure out how do we run a business, how do we run a food business in the complex place that we are in right now. And I think it'll be really interesting to figure that out. And again, hopefully it's something, because I've always wanted to also, I don't like that kind of closed off feeling where you don't share information or you keep everything, like behind closed doors, secret. So I just hope that there's a building of the hospitality industry or food industry that comes together that tries to figure out some of these bigger sustainability issues together. Because we can't just be one man by ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think, there are so many feelings that come up for people who decide to call time on a business. And, it's sad. There's sadness, there's relief, there's shock, there can be shame, there can be doubt, nervousness, a little bit of glee, hopefully in there somewhere. There are so many feelings. Alex, I think, you said so much in your answer just previously, and I want to go back and pick up on a few things. One of them is the impacts of COVID. And, I think we came through it. Some businesses closed, but most didn't. Most did hang in there. But then, as you said, you gear up again but you're so tired. Those wheels have been spinning so hard for those tricky years. And I just don't think we've really dealt with it.
No, I don't either. And, watching James, I was home with kids and I was writing a cookbook, so I wasn't in the shop like James was in the shop. He was here every day. And he would just come home ashen-faced. Like, it wasn't, we're in a small neighbourhood. We weren't in the city. I don't know how people in the city, I don't know how you guys in Victoria handled it. Like, we were actually in quite a privileged position. But the constant, like, the brain power of having to figure out almost every day, like, what are we doing today? Or this is changing, or we can do this now, we can't do this, or are we keeping staff, are we letting people go? Are people getting sick? All the things was massive. And also I think we had a little window that was open, and one of our beautiful customers built us a shelf so that you could put the food down or he could put the coffee down and no one had to physically touch each other, which was a beautiful gesture. But everyone wanted to have a conversation. So James became like, I feel like Annandale's therapist, because we were like the walking route for a lot of people. And we got into this new system of operating, and in some ways it was better. Like, we didn't have table service. We didn't have as many staff. We didn't have to have as big an offering. We didn't have to put on all the bells and whistles and make that kind of magic that customers expect. It was like out a window, have a big chat to Jimmy, there's your coffee. I think we were only doing toasties. I can't even remember anymore. And in some ways that was great as well. But then as soon as everything lifted, there was this expectation that you go back to exactly what you were beforehand. And we found that really hard, because, you know, we were wrecked. We didn't even know if we wanted to go back to what we were beforehand. And, you know, then trying to put systems in place that felt like actually QR codes would be really great for us. Will our customers accept them? Can we not have table service? You know, all the little things that you got to try and nut out. So, yeah, I just think the tiredness of that hasn't left us. But maybe young people feel different. James just turned 50. I'm in my 40s. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, look, there's something in just like basic tiredness, and so there's that. Let's hear from people and see what they think. Since you reopened and you did gear back to that larger offering, what are the things that have made it so tough, that have led to this being the moment that you say, no, enough? Look, it's a combination of everything. And like anyone in the hospitality industry, they know everything is going up in price. We're also in a cost of living crisis, so people we can't, and so we just can't keep putting our prices up. And we're a cafe as well, so people need to be able to, you know, they want coffee and they want breakfast with what they can afford, which I totally understand, because I'm also that person too. But the reality is that you can't really make money from what you used to be able to make money on. And we're also really interested in using good quality products, and we don't want to cut corners, and we don't want to go to just the cheapest offering because we can, because, you know, I know what that means in our food system on a bigger scale. So it just feels to me, unless you're tiny, like a little tiny shop, which is maybe what we should do again, or if you are part of a bigger restaurant group, I don't know how small business survives. And what I worry about that is that then we just lose diversity in the industry. And I think that's the thing that makes me really sad, is that we will lose businesses that are run, you know, by people who are just trying to make it work in the hospitality industry. And it felt like you used to be able to have a nice life from that, whereas I don't know how to make that work anymore. So yeah, I guess that's, I don't know. Does that answer that? Oh, look, it's a lot of answers, definitely. And it's certainly a theme that I've heard from many people, that, you know, there are these tiny businesses that are, you know, very constricted in what they offer, and that's how it needs to be for it to be, you know, hopefully better than break even. Or there are businesses that are using scale to try to, just like when the margins are small, at least to have more. Have more going through the business. I mean, if you're okay with talking numbers, like, have you been profitable? Like, how tight is it for you?
I think what's hard for us is that we have so many octopus arms. So, and I think that's why we've been going actually for so long as well, is that we have our pickles and preserve range, which we amp up or amp down depending on where we're at. So in COVID, our online store was just massive. Like, we were just, you know, pickling behind the scenes, and everyone was ordering online, which was amazing. And, you know, I've got the cookbooks, and I teach and I do consulting work. So I feel like it's not, we're this kind of, we've done so many things because of the education space, but no, the cafe is not profitable now. And that's all those things that you talked about before. It's like, is this us? Have we fucked it up? Is this okay? Is everyone else like that? I mean, what's lucky for us is that we know a lot of hospitality industry people, and James and I get to have all those big conversations with other people who are going through the same stuff. So we don't feel super alone in this, and it doesn't feel like we're just the losers who can't figure it out. Which is why I think this conversation is so important with, bigger than just Cornersmith, is like, who is making this work? Because there is this, you do have to keep it looking like it's all awesome and amazing and looks great on social media, and that's tough. That's hard.
I mean, that's really quite devastating to think that there's a bunch of you sitting around talking about how it's not working and yet you're still opening the doors.
Yeah. Because and it kind of works enough-ish, and you've been in it for long enough to make it work, and you don't know what else you are. I mean, hospo people are hospo people. You know that very well, you know when it's like, oh, that's where, I don't know what else I would do if I didn't do this industry. I feel a bit, on the side of that as well. But yeah, it's really big. It's a really crazy kind of time, and maybe we've been here before. It's just that I don't know that I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, you spoke about that. One of the solutions that you or any other business owner could see in front of them was to cut costs, and cutting costs in a food business often means using different produce. It might also mean not, putting aside money for staff entitlements, or it might mean, cutting corners on wages. It could mean all kinds of things. And some of them are not ethical or not legal, and some of them are just not how you want to do business. You understand food systems. There's a bigger picture to why you operate the way that you do. I feel like so often with sustainability, it's, it is like we're bringing our one keep cup or our one shopping bag, or, putting our 4 bits of soft plastic in a bin where they'll just end up sitting in a warehouse and catching on fire. How do you see the balance between responsibility for individuals and small businesses such as yours and systems?
Look, it's not, I guess I always, almost for the last 10 years, I've really thought that if you try hard enough, you can make change. And I think maybe that's right. I don't feel like Cornersmith has been a failure by any means, but I do feel like I was like, I really thought I could change things. And I now don't feel like that, because I think it needs bigger systemic change. And I think for me personally, I feel this weight of that we can't do things in an easier way in the business because of everything that I know, and I won't sleep at night. It's like I just can't cope with it. So, but that doesn't solve anything. That's just like my guilt and perfectionism and understanding of it all. So no, I don't think it's an individual's responsibility. What I do think though is that raising awareness is everybody in the hospitality industry's responsibility. And whether that's to the complexities of the industry or to, the ingredients that they're using, or how to reduce packaging, or whatever thing that people are interested in, we need leaders in hospitality, like all industries need leaders. And I've always really felt really strongly about that we need, I don't know, like we've all got this one life, and if you don't try to make change or have purpose, what's the fucking point? That's my bigger rant. But yeah, I do feel, I don't think it's the individual's responsibility ultimately, but I don't think anyone else knows what to do. Like government's not particularly doing anything. The bigger organisations, I just am disappointed and frustrated that I've been having the same conversations for 12 years.
Yeah, it's massive what we're talking about. So we're not gonna grasp it. I suppose what I would say is, it's not that what you're doing or what any of us does makes no difference. It's just that our individual actions may not be making enough difference to turn around this massive ship. And I suppose as much as, we say, well, it's not the individual's responsibility, it's society's responsibility. So we've got to, then it's like, well, how does our democracy work? And
exactly. And when does it end? And then you never sleep, Dani.
Yes, but we do need to sleep, because if we don't, we get too tired to run our businesses, and then what are we left with?
Exactly.
So you definitely can go around and around in frustrating circles.
I think what has been amazing, and when I do look back on it, is that I felt like when we started Cornersmith, we were, kind of swamped from day one. And that made me, and this was 12 years ago, before even these big conversations were even really being had. And I felt like there was this absolute magnetism of people already wanting to engage in these issues. And so everyone kind of collectively came together. And I feel in some ways we started a little movement that was really getting quite a lot of traction. And it wasn't just individuals. I wasn't just teaching people domestically about food waste or about the value of ingredients or, how the kitchen can be a really... I guess the kitchen can be a space for activism. Like, it was also industry people we were talking about all those issues with, and doing lots of work for councils and organisations. And I just felt like I could feel this momentum and I guess groundswell happening. And I guess when COVID hit, that obviously had to change, and so that momentum has gone. And then coming back, cost of living seems to be, well, it is. It's more important in a lot. I mean, it's not, and it is, but people are in survival right now. So are the environmental things taking a bit of a back seat?
Yeah. But on the other hand, speaking of survival...
Exactly, Dani, exactly. But I guess what I really do feel is that we need kind of old school people, activism, coming together, like numbers, not just like me by myself over here being like, hey, we need to do something. And it's not just me. There's so many people doing good stuff. But we all need to like come together in one big loud voice, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think... we've talked about you in Cornersmith being a leader, and I think one thing that I've noticed over the years with you is, you mentioned the tuna canning days, and that you were, very much an advocate for pickling, preserving, and, there were obviously massive sustainability, I suppose, credentials behind that. But then with your most recent book, Food Savers, you're talking more about, how do we make the most of the food that we've already got? And I think it's definitely been a shift that you've led your audience through, and I think it's so to the point. So I think without putting any pressure on you, I do trust in you to find the next thing, and for it to be super meaningful, super inspiring, and to really make a difference. Because as much as we can talk about our frustrations, you are. This business is so far from, failing. It's really exciting that, you're taking the brand with you, and there'll be, thousands and thousands of people eager to see what you do next, but no pressure.
No pressure. Maybe someone out there has the answer. I just need someone to tell me what to do because my brain stopped working now.
Well, let's leave it there, and we will now put it out to the audience to come to us with some great ideas for Alex and for all of us. Who is making it work? What are the hacks that we haven't thought of, that Alex and James can apply to their next business or the next iteration of this business, and that other people out there who are struggling in hospo, because we know there are a lot of you who are just like putting one foot in front of the other, but wondering, how long it can go on. Let's get some answers for all of us. Alex, thank you so much for kicking this off so openly and bravely. I'm excited for you.
Thanks, Dani. I'm excited and scared.
That's fair enough. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This